Good to catch up.
Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. And today I'm joined by Kevin Reeve from On Point Tactical. Kevin and I have we've been, I would say, Kevin,
Good to catch up.
in the spiritual realm, pretty much, opened me up, helped me see the intuitive side of myself on a deeper level, the spiritual side and all that kind of stuff. Of course, he's an expert in tracking and survival and so forth. We'll talk a lot about that. But Kevin, such a pleasure to have you on today. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, it's really good. I met Mike. I met you probably, I guess, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We have many friends in common, and we actually did a lot of stuff together several years ago. I was working at tracker school for Tom Brown at the time, and eventually ended up leaving there and started out on my own to open On Point Tactical, with an eye to teaching tracking on the military side. And what ended up happening was a friend of mine in the IDF said, "Hey, we really need urban escape and evasion, because all of the escape and evasion stuff is done now, is wilderness. It's when your pilot gets shot down, your aircrew gets shot down, how do you survive in the wilderness? Nobody's doing anything in the urban environment." And so I thought, well, that would be great. I got together with a few guys and came up with a curriculum. Some people and we started teaching it. One of my earlier cohorts in crime was our good friend Tom Kyer.
Yep, good.
Who just had a birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Tom, if you happen to be watching.
Very good.
So, but Tom helped me teach the classes for a long time. We had a lot of success with that. And that became kind of the flagship class. We still teach all the scout and long range reconnaissance type classes. But the big money maker has always been urban escape and evasion.
Very good. So the urban escape and evasion, today, anytime really, that should be on everyone's mind. I think everyone should go through some kind of training like that. Yours, of course, is the premium, the top of the line. I think, from what I've been watching and what people have been telling me.
We were the first. We're not the only, but we were probably the original. We live in a society now where the veneer of civility is rather thin. Right. And it won't take much to tear that veneer away. And these are the skills that will keep you alive in that kind of situation. And so, it's a really good way to prepare yourself for uncertainty, especially in an urban environment, which is where 90% of the population lives. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And, we've talked about over the years, you and I and other people have talked about, EMP, whether that's a natural cause from the sun, whether it's, from an outside source, like the Chinese, would hit us or something.
Just to name one.
Just outside, not to point any fingers at anyone that they would do that. It could be anyone really, but or it could be a mistake that happens. So anyway, the EMP attack would be devastating. As we know, there probably would be a 90% casualty rate from that over about a year.
Yeah, that's the absolute worst case scenario.
Yeah.
We can have. We've had an interesting time with COVID. I think.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that it's what everybody claims that it is. I think it's greatly overstated, but I think that would be child's play compared to an EMP.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
We are so completely dependent on the power grid. And if we lost the grid, there's no more medical care. There's no more transportation. Food doesn't come into the cities. The cities will break down quickly.
Right.
So a class like Urban Escape and Evasion helps you to get out of the city when that kind of thing happens. And, I hate to be a pessimist, but I just think it's a matter of time. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I've been saying it for years. I think that, when we saw the Antifa and Black Lives Matter rioting and stuff like that, I think that was the tip of the iceberg for the big cities. I've been saying for a little while now to get out of the big cities, and we're starting to see that's those that are still there are regretting staying.
That's wisdom. The big cities like California has taxed itself into oblivion. I mean, people are fleeing in such, they're getting out. They're actually coming where I live and probably up where you live to get away from the urban blight, and it's going to get so bad. And if you get caught, you're gonna be wishing you had some training and could get get out of the town without losing your life.
Yeah, definitely. And learning, just basic stuff. Like you and I, we could go naked into the wilderness and thrive, not survive. In an urban environment, it's a little bit more challenging.
Oh,
yeah, but not as much. Now, I know you've taught a lot of special forces guys, and also my old
your old cadre
contractor, security contractor. So you taught a lot of them, but everyone really should have these skills right now. Tell us the top thing in your when you teach, what you're trying to inform people.
More than anything else, our most important skill is awareness. Learning how to read what's happening around you, see the concentric rings of disturbance, and be able to react. The way I would describe it is that awareness buys you time. It buys you time to make alternate decisions that allow you to get away from bad situations. And that awareness in an urban environment is challenging because there's so much visual and audio input that you have to really, really monitor that baseline to figure out what's happening.
Yeah, the awareness skills definitely saved my life and a lot of people's lives that I learned there at the Tracker School, and with your help, thank you very much. I learned remote viewing at the Tracker School and remote sensing. I remember those times where we did the blindfold work, and I just reached out my consciousness. I even took it back and started teaching the SEAL team guys that I was still training. And then once I went overseas, it expanded to the point where I wasn't just remote viewing the road before we went down it. I was getting input that an attack was coming a week in advance to the detail. So these concentric rings that you're talking about is something I learned there. And these Native American skills are very, very valuable, I think.
The awareness skills we teach her on a physical level, but of course it goes well beyond that. And once you start exploring like you have done, and you have developed so well, then it becomes metaphysical. It becomes just amazing. You really know what's going to happen before it happens, and it kind of sometimes freaks other people out.
Oh, totally.
I'm sure you've had that.
Oh, yeah.
I remember one of the classes that we did in Florida. You brought several guys with you, and I don't know if I should mention names, but they were all good guys. But I remember one officer in particular with the initials of TB who did some remote viewing and was completely blown away by it. He came back in and said, "Wait a minute," and he sketched something that he saw in his mind, and then walked out there and found exactly what he sketched.
Right.
And it was so eye-opening for those guys. It was quite.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting. That's what I got from those classes, the scout classes, and being able to sense stuff, and then working with other people that were sensing the same thing, on that level was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's very rare to come across someone that has these abilities, but anyone can develop them and tap into it.
Yeah. I just found a notebook from that class of my notes, and it had a list of everybody in your group, and the one that really struck me was Kevin Houston that went down with extortion 17. It was really a sad day. But it's really interesting to teach in that community and have guys like you go, wait a minute, this is crazy. I didn't have any idea this could be reality, and this is something we should all be learning, and
Yes.
we could be so much more effective if we were willing to trust our own intuition.
Excellent. Yeah. And that's if we could just start it from there. I tried to do this, but like you said, guys were, very, very skeptical. We could call it that. But after I started making these calls over time, people started trusting me. We don't understand what you're doing, and we don't care. But if there's something, if you see something, let us know. I was like, hey, I can work with that. So that's the kind of the way it was. But some over time, they're like, can you teach me that? And I was like, yeah. And I taught people, and now I have courses where anyone can learn.
Yeah.
So it's fabulous to see that people are tapping into it. So yes, awareness, the very first thing. And if you're going to be in an urban environment and things go bad, you need to stay in that consciousness state that allows you to tap into that. If you get nervous, you get fearful and stuff like that, you're out of that state of consciousness. And that's one of the great things I learned as well from
fear is the mind killer, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Very good.
And awareness gives you choice. It gives you the option to make decisions that you wouldn't have if you're not aware. So yeah, that's our first and primary skill is awareness, and it permeates all of our classes. And we get into some of the metaphysical stuff that you and I both know so well, and it's we work on things like sensing intent. How can you tell what someone's intent is when you meet them? And how do you learn how to trust what your gut is telling you? Everybody's met somebody that just creeps them out. You just go, there's something wrong with that guy. Well, you got to learn to trust those feelings, to allow that subconscious intuition, I guess is the right word for it, to come to the surface and to I hate to say taint, but to enlighten your decisions.
Right. Yeah.
It makes your decisions much better. So, with that's a really big emphasis in all the training we do is how to improve your awareness. And then we put some hard physical skills in there too, like lock picking and escaping from custody, and how to boost the car and get out of town, and I mean some really fun stuff.
Yeah, improvised weapons always. Yeah, and make just like we used to do in survival. Creating tools in a survival situation. You create tools in a survival situation in a city. Like if Antifa came and was in your neighborhood and going door to door, and you're on their list, you're on their list.
I would guess that's
you're out the back door, out a window, and you're hopefully you got a go bag, because we teach how to have a go bag ready in your car, in your place of residence, and so forth. So, but you might not have an opportunity to grab that. You might be barefoot. You might be in your underwear. Whatever it takes to survive, you need to have that mindset. So the mindset is very critical too, and that's one of the great things on there as well.
And there's an old saying: the more you know, the less you need. And that has been, for me, that has been really a pivotal decision matrix for a rubric for survival. If you know how to do this, you don't need this. If you know how to do this, you don't need that. And before long, you can start leaving all that stuff behind. It makes it more convenient. It's a good go bag is speeds your process and makes life a lot easier, but it shouldn't be essential, because you never know what the circumstances are going to be where you are that you're thrown into, and you may not be may not be able to get your bag, or you may have it taken from you.
Sure. Yeah.
So our company motto is "Training Trumps Gear," which says essentially what I just described, that it's better to be trained and understand how things work so that you can improvise than it is to have all the gear and then lose it.
Yeah. And, you know, I always brought that up too with guys. They were like, you know, why do I need to learn? Because I started the hand-in-hand program in the SEAL teams, and and guys would like, you know, confront me. They'd be like, why do I need to learn that hand-in-hand bullshit when I have a weapon? I was like, where's your weapon right now? I'll snap your neck before you can even blink, you know? So what good is that weapon going to do you right now?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's people, you know, I know I work around, you know, alpha males, and they're a hard group to, you know, convince sometimes.
Yeah.
But you have to be hard on people. And, you know, I got that hard love at the tracker school, and from you, that was really good. So are you doing the hard love in your classes? You're just like, nice guy.
No, there are some experiences, there are some skills that you only learn from experience. You know, you can sit through a lecture about camouflage or movement or whatever, but until you get out there and you get reinforced with either like a airsoft rifle round hitting you in the ass because your butt's too high, that kind of reinforces you. I mean, it's not simunition. I mean, that's like the worst thing in the world, but it is still, we still give the tough love, you know. It's not you get the feeling, you get to understand, you know.
Right, definitely. So, you know, we kind of bumped into each other. I was watching, we're out in Las Vegas. You're out there, and we're, you know, with Juan O'Savin, and we're having that great video that we were checking out.
Amazing movie.
Oh yeah, totally amazing. What is it? Sound of Freedom. So Sound of Freedom was a fantastic movie. So what brought you out there to Las Vegas? And that?
One was the connecting factor. I have a very good friend in Hollywood involved in the entertainment industry, and he and Juan are very good friends, and connected me with Juan, and my wife and Juan converse on current events all the time, and as does my friend Alan, and shout out to Alan. He's a great guy going through rough times, and so Alan. I wish I had a chance to meet you. We had to take off after the showing we were in, and I guess you had to go do your show, and so we did.
Yeah, I had a show, and yeah, that was a whirlwind. My life has been a whirlwind lately. You know, I basically prepared for this time in my life, you know, to share this kind of information, develop it within myself, and then to share it. You know, I knew as a little kid that I was going to be somebody that did something like this. Just like I knew as a little kid I was going to be Navy SEAL and CIA. So all these things are starting to unfold for me. So I knew at this point in my life that I'd be doing these amazing things and sharing information with people and speaking and so forth.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been quite a whirlwind.
And see, I'm the same way. This is my calling. It's not just a job. I do this because, I mean, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd still be doing this because I really feel strongly about it. You know, I'm not in it for the financial reward. Obviously, my wife will tell you that. I'm in it for the ability to influence people and hopefully save lives. And you got to have something you're passionate about, or it really becomes a grind. And I know I'm so impressed with what you've done with what you've learned over the last 10 years. It's just been 15 years. It's been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, me.
I remember in an early scout class where you had this intuitive ability that I could sense was going to develop in an amazing way. Literally running down trails that were booby trapped and screeching to a halt like 𝗨𝙗 Coyote right before the trip line. I don't know if you remember that, but I do. I was like, holy crap, this guy has an innate sense that he just has to develop, and he'll be unstoppable. You remember that?
I do remember that. And like I said, that was definitely, you know, the thing that took me to the next level. You know, after being in the SEAL teams, I think at that time, it was like I was in 23 years. I think I spent another year in the SEAL teams when I started going to those courses. I think I went for a total of 13 courses, helped out in some of the courses sometimes. So it was a lot of fun, really great development for me. But yeah, those courses definitely took me to the next level. If you were Navy SEAL, you're in combat and you did all this stuff, you're talking about next level. Yes. Yeah. This is the stuff that you learn that goes to the next level. So the stuff we're talking about right now, the awareness stuff, is totally next level.
Yeah, and I'm sure that served you well in Iraq, and wow. I've heard a couple of stories about it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he definitely is an intuitive warrior. So,
yeah, that's pretty amazing.
That's been pretty cool. And 17 years ago, it's been hard to believe, but it's been 17 years since I left Tracker and started On Point. And I feel good that I've been around for 17 years. It's last year was a real bitch, but I'm really happy about the classes that we had and what we learned. And so
to get your site up here. So yeah, lot of great stuff. Like I said, I've been hearing people talk about this over the years. Absolutely. Yeah. Here you are, getting out of the handcuffs, teaching guys how to escape and evade, how to move, how to evade cameras and all kind of crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty amazing what you're doing right now. This is all the stuff that took me years to learn when I was in the CIA.
Yeah, and
you're teaching it, in a few-day class. So it's pretty
well. Amazing. I mean, I got to admit that some of my I'm NDA'd, so I can't talk about it too much. But some of the clients have been high-level guys, and I think I talked to one senior guy one time, and he said, "Yeah, I've been sending guys to your classes for years." And I said, "Who?" He goes, "Well, they wouldn't.
Right?
They wouldn't be very good if you knew who they were." And I'm like, dang, yeah. Going through in my mind, who was it? Was it this guy? Was it this guy? But that's been a real feather in the cap to be able to train guys at that level, and to work with Blackwater guys and
right.
I did some.
But you can train them to a very high level very quickly because they're so super focused, and
they already
some good stuff and they want it bad. So that's the way I was when I went to the Tracker school.
Yeah, and I remember that particular class in Florida. You had some guys with you that were eating it up. I mean,
absolutely.
They jumped in on it pretty well, and I'm sure that I stay in touch with a couple of those guys, and they have credited a lot of what they've learned in combat to the intuitive warrior stuff that you've been teaching.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of people that were in those classes. Dan Stanchfield went on to become a Navy SEAL. He's got a great career going on right now. Married a beautiful movie star. Good for him. And so it's amazing some of the people that have come out of those classes. The classes that I taught when I left Tracker school and started teaching on my own a little bit before I went into the CIA. Some of those guys went on to do amazing stuff. So the skills that we're sharing are super valuable, incredibly valuable. Now I know you've had some high level people on. I saw a show one time where you had who's the Black Sabbath singer?
Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy Osbourne, that's right.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was a fun show. You want to tell us about that? You can talk about that one because it was on video.
Okay. Yeah. Ozzy was a character. He's a really down to earth guy. He's not the son of Satan or anything like that. He's a lot of fun, and we fed him some prickly pear and some various desert foods, and he was very happy to go get a hamburger afterwards.
That's usually the way it is after survival school. You work through it, it's like, oh, that's fun. Or like when I did Vision Quest, oh, that was great. Now where's the food? So yeah.
And so Ozzy was a pretty interesting one. I I did a TV show. There was a TV show called Off the Grid $1 Million Manhunt, and it was kind of my class on a game show level, and you can find it on YouTube. But I was out in the field. I had a couple of hackers that were trying to track a couple of guys, and me and a guy named Sparks, who was I want to say he was Team 3, was my cohort, and the two of us were out on the street trying to catch these guys. And that one was fun too, because this guy had been a Oakland Raider linebacker before he became a SEAL. And when we took these guys down, he took them down. I mean, it was worth the show just to watch him hit this guy on the concrete in the middle of the train station in LA.
Wow.
It was pretty funny. So we've done some fun stuff over the years, and had some really interesting people in the show. There was the Divergent movie series with Shailene Woodley. Before she started that, she came and took the Urban Escape Innovation class, and she didn't really say it, but her director said that one of the reasons they hired her is because of that class, because of the stuff she learned in that class. So I thought that was kind of nice. And of course, early on, we worked on the movie The Hunted with Benicio and Tommy Lee Jones, and I was able to convince them to bring Tom Kyer onto the set, and that's what really gave that movie the authenticity.
Oh God!
Was Tom's choreography of the fight scenes.
Fighting, yeah.
And he's been such a big influence too. Man, I can't even say, there are a few guys that I look back on and say, this guy really made a difference in my life, and you were definitely one of those, and so was Tom.
Yeah, Tom definitely made a big influence on my life. The skills that I learned, the knife fighting, say at 𝗨𝙗, knife fighting skills was like on a different level.
Yeah.
And I remember Tom and I one time, he was training me and 𝗏𝗍𝗶𝗃𝗏. I brought him up for a special class, and Tom was teaching us, and Tom started calling me the cyborg, because all I wanted to do is just train, because you get that information, that's all you want. You're like, let's like a puppy.
Let's do some more.
So there was one thing that he taught later on. It was drawing your knife and stabbing, like going through ocular cavity into the brainstem, which is death blow. So drawing and stabbing all one movement, and we had a contest. We had like a timer.
Timer, right?
Yeah. So you would hit, just off the timer on a piece of wood, and it would time you. So I got it all the way down, because I'd like get in that zone, that empty zone.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go, boom. It's like just so fast, and it was like 0.33, and Tom hadn't the fastest he could get was like 0.35.
I know. So I know his best score.
I broke it, and Tom's like, "Oh, how competitive Tom is." He's like, "Mike, you're pushing me." so then he did like a 0.3. I was like, "Dang."
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I would do that draw so fast, it would be like, you hear the movies where they're like, and I was like literally doing that. I was like, wow, that's incredible. And then I would have contests overseas, like when I was in Iraq and stuff, and all the teams, were there. And I was like, you guys want to learn knife fighting? And they'd be like, same things. Like, what good?
I got a gun. What do I need?
Well, you're going to bring a knife to a gunfight? And I was like, I'll beat I will stab you to death before you can get your gun out. And everybody's like, get the fastest guy, the fastest drawer. So got him up there. I was like, three out of three, boom, boom, boom. And everybody's like,
okay,
show us. And so then it was like everybody's throwing knives and stuff after that. Like, it was great.
Well, I have a list. That I've compiled over the past 15, 20 years of the 10 people I never want to piss off. And Mr. Kyer is number one on my list for 15 straight years.
Absolutely.
He's the most talented, scary guy I've ever met,
Yeah.
And you're on my list.
If I was going to fight, if there was going to be a bad fight, there's only a few people that are top of my list like that. And hands down, Tom would be my partner.
Yeah.
thing that I
Oh,
I
yeah.
would do.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about it too. I'm glad you mentioned 𝗵𝙗𝙗. He's had quite a career, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I wish we could talk about it, but that's probably not a very good idea.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is he still in? Is he out?
I haven't heard from him in a little while, so
I haven't either, so I've lost track.
yeah, I lost track of him, but yeah, quite a. He was almost kicked out of the teams, and then
I know.
I took him under my wing. I was, taking care of him, and then we had a mutual SEAL officer that basically got him off some problems that he was having, and he
Yeah,
just
I remember that. I remember
that.
him talking to me about it one time. He goes, "I have this problem. Just every time I go into a bar, I get into a fight." And I said, "Mike, don't go into bars."
Yeah, exactly.
He goes, "Yeah, that ain't gonna happen."
Yeah, especially when you're a young SEAL. It's very, very hard. Part of the culture.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're talking about all this amazing stuff, all this awareness stuff, reminiscing here. I think people are probably getting a good idea that this is like next level type stuff. So your courses, when you bring people in and when you teach people, whether they be, Ozzy Osbourne or someone like Mike Mura that's going to be, or, some other people we kind of know that have gone on to do amazing stuff. What is it that you teach other than awareness that really makes a difference in your courses?
The overall skill level is just it's what makes the classes unique is that I've found niches that nobody else is covering. I mean, you could go get individual training, but you'd have to take 6 or 7 classes to get what you get in 1 3 minutes. So you can go learn lockpicking, you can go learn escape from custody, you can go learn interrogation resistance, you can go learn, but you would have to go to a number of different places to do it. And so what we did was looked at what was being taught, and I had some really good advice on this, and they said, nobody's teaching this particular skill. Let's see if we can integrate it in. And so there's a whole range of a combination of kind of philosophy side of the awareness and intuition, and then there's the hard skills like lockpicking. And so it's a really fun combination of things that we teach, and then we teach the scout stuff too. And there's a lot of intuition involved in learning how to detect traps and learning how to detect the presence of the enemy, even though you can't see or sense them. How to extend your senses way out. We teach how to use bird language to detect the presence of an enemy. Some of that stuff is really just not taught anywhere else. I had a student this week in class say, this school, he says this is his first class and he loved it. And he said, this school is crazy. I've never been anywhere where you learn such a weird collection of skills. And I said, well, I'm glad I'm not sure that I want to be known as the weird school, but the collection of skills certainly is unique. And so that distinguishes us from a lot of others. I mean, like improvised weapons. I give higher credit for most of that, but we have them do an exercise on the final day where they're escaping and evading through the city, and one of the things they have to do is make an improvised weapon, and they have a hall of fame of improvised weapons of some just incredible things people have made over the years, and one of them was made by Ozzy's son Jack.
Wow!
And he did it. There's a picture of them there on the Urban Acquisition. There's examples of some of the improvised weapons and so forth. So, but we have a pretty broad range. Like we teach you how to pick locks, and then we teach you how to make lock picks from stuff you find on the street and pick locks. So it's really kind of a crazy fun collection. See, there's some improvised weapons. I don't remember what class that's from, but anyway. And so
So you've taught some. I can see here you've taught some pretty interesting groups there.
Yeah.
I see some faces.
If I went through the list, you would know 30%, 40% of the people on that, on the high end side. You probably know more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And
now what's really beautiful is you taught me a lot of scout tracking. So the scout tracking, because you're using your awareness basically to connect with the tracks. Now I started playing with it on the beach, and I would look at tracks and I'd be like, oh, that's fresh. And I'd look up and I'd follow, and there's
the person. Yeah.
And they would connect. It's like they stopped and they turned around like what? Who is
tugging on that string?
And I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. That's weird. But I use that to basically find terrorists. So I would track terrorists.
I'm so glad to hear that. I mean,
so I took it like all these skills that I teach and that you teach. Got people that are listening. It's like, I don't know, tracking. When am I going to use that? So I just gave you an example of how I took that tracking to the next level. So all of these skills are pushing your awareness to a different level. And when you start to do that, you start to apply it in whatever it is in your life. Now, I do the same thing when I invest or get out of the market or move my money around. And I do extremely well with that. So all of these different things are unique. Yes, they're, they might seem like they're out of the ordinary. They might seem like that it's not something that you're ever going to utilize.
Yeah.
But just like Kevin said, the more that you learn, just like the more that I learned as a Navy SEAL and, going to tracker school and stuff like that, when I got into combat was like, this is it.
Yeah.
So that's the way you want to be. If you're ever in a survival situation or if things go crazy, you just become more aware of your environment.
Yep. Scroll down again on those pictures.
Okay.
That middle one right there. Can you zoom? No, the one below it.
The off-grid medical.
Yeah, zoom in on that. I don't know why that picture is on that thing. I don't know if you recognize who that is, but that's Eric Prince.
Oh yeah, how about that?
I did bow drill fire with Eric Prince. I spent a day with his family,
nice.
doing kind of a private.
He's a really nice guy.
Wow, one of the nicest guys
Yeah.
I've met.
I put him through training, and I had contact with him when I was working at Blackwater. He says I was going to be one of his generals. Of course, Blackwater kind of folded, but he is a really good guy. Of course, they tried to make him look like a villain, but of course, because he's doing good things out there.
I have an amazing Eric Prince story about what we were doing was putting a class on for his son's school class. So a bunch of 11-year-olds were coming out to the place in Middleburg, and we were doing, I set up tomahawk throwing and knife throwing and archery and fire making, and I had all these little stations. And one of the things that we wanted to do was hunt a deer and teach them that meat didn't come from the grocery store.
Good.
So we were on quads, and we went on far end of the property and drove a herd of deer towards Eric, who was down in a protected area, so his round wouldn't go outside of he was in a gully, in a wash, and we drove a deer over the edge of that wash, and I pulled up on the edge and watched him bring his rifle up and track that deer, who was moving probably about 30, 35 miles an hour, take one shot, and the deer dropped.
Wow.
And when we cleaned it and when we gutted it, and I pulled out the heart, and there was a hole right through the heart.
Unbelievable. Wow.
One shot, 35 miles an hour through the heart of the deer. I put the heart on my finger and looked at him and said, that, my friend, was some good shooting.
No doubt.
Well, I've had some good training.
That's next level. Yeah, that's next level shooting. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a physical skill, I don't think. I think you had to have had I'm sure that's how it gets when you're shooting. You get an intuition of where the bullet's going to go.
Yep. Yeah, I did when I did the hand-to-hand course, there was a meditation involved in that. Of course, when I went to the tracker school, it took me to a different level on the meditation. And then my shooting, I was always an expert, but my shooting went to the point where it was almost perfect every time I would shoot, which is like unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, no one shoots perfect. Well,
I never do that.
I know people that have, but I'm not one of them. But I came one bullet shy of perfection on a shoot one time. I was like, wow, that's amazing. It's like ridiculously good shooting. So your conscience has to be on a different level when you shoot like that. I would know where my shots were going to go as when I pulled the trigger.
And I asked him that. I asked him, how did you do that? He goes, I just knew where the bullet was going to go.
Right.
His body, his brain, his subconscious all worked together to put that shot into the heart of that deer. And it was probably
good. You taught him all that stuff. Taught him how to do that connection. That's good. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the guys that can combine the metaphysical and the physical, and draw on the subconscious. We have so much awareness that we don't recognize because it's subconscious. Your body has all kinds of sensory capabilities that most people aren't aware of. You can feel the difference in weight. You can feel gravity. You can feel hot and cold and rough and smooth. All these sensory capabilities are there. They're way beyond just touch, taste, smell, the five senses, hearing and sight. But most of that information goes into the subconscious, and it stays in the subconscious until you drop yourself into a mental state, an alpha state, that allows that subconscious awareness to percolate up. And then you get really good awareness.
Yeah, that's where it really starts to come in. So the meditation is just a tool to get you to those states of consciousness. But once you get there, as I learned in the tracker school and with your teaching, stuff like that, was that you should always be there. You should always walk in that state of
learn to live in that state.
Yes.
Yeah.
So wide angle vision, all the different things that I learned there. It was hard at first to do that. You have to, it's like, doing your eyes like, oh, that's painful. But after a while, I'm always in a wide angle vision. I've been there for years and years now. So
yeah, and I can drop into an alpha state like that just by going wide. Just go wide and alpha state. Yep. Then stuff flows. It just becomes so much easier. It's the flow state. It's a magical world to be in, to be able to get into and stay into alpha. That's a really big part of how we teach awareness is that nature is giving you all kinds of clues about what's going on in the environment around you. But because you're in a beta state, your brain is cycling really fast, and you're agitated. You're not getting it. Right. But once you slow down and start getting it, then boy, that becomes a great tool to the soldier. You can just sense stuff way outside the realm of your own personal senses because your subconscious is so good at it.
Right. It's very, very good. Yeah. The brainwave patterns are huge. It's what I taught in the hand-to-hand program. And then when I came to, the tracker school, you guys took it to the next level. Also, the things that I learned was invisibility. So I have some really good invisibility stories where, during the drum stalking where you're blindfolded, I remember it's freezing cold, and I was put down to just my Speedos, and I moved through, and at first I'm into everything, and then eventually nothing touches me, and I'm warm. I don't even think about the cold anymore.
Right.
I'm just hearing the thump of the drum, and I'm just, or the flute or whatever it's being we're focused on. So as once you start to 0 point focus your mind like that, and you start to apply in other aspects of your mind, you can do amazing things. So in an urban survival environment, once you learn how to go into that awareness state, these alpha brainwave states of consciousness, then you 0 point focus your mind. Okay, this is what I want to achieve. I want to get out of danger and get into a place where I can gather whatever I need to do, contact whoever I need to contact, link up with whoever I need to contact. When you get that kind of 0 point focus, whatever it needs to happen comes to you magically. It's amazing the way it works.
Yeah, the way you survive in an urban environment is by becoming a gray man. You just become invisible, and you become so in tune that nobody sees you. They can look right at you and not see you. And it's not, I mean, it's all mind state. It's really easy to talk about. It's harder you have to practice it to get to the point where you can just walk through town and disappear. And I have a particular friend who is just the best gray man. And I was at the SHOT Show with him one year, and I'm standing right next to him. He's right next to me. And I go, where did Phil go? I can't find him. And I'm looking all around, and he goes, I'm right here, dummy. And, I just didn't see him. And that's, and that's one of the things that we really try and teach you in the urban classes.
Yeah.
How do you prepare yourself to not be seen?
Yeah.
Because it's way better to avoid confrontation than it is to have to fight your way through it. And so we really get down on that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I used to, was teaching classes myself for a while, doing the drum stock, the blindfolded drum stock, having a guy strip down and, and the ladies, not completely though, of course, but when they stalked in, it would amaze me because as they're coming in, I could see them it's almost like they're silver, going in and out of reality. It's like they're fading in and out. I'm like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. And I would see a lot of people do that.
Well, there was a guy who was a Tai Chi master. I don't know if you remember him. His name was Gary Lee. Gary, we would do any exercising that required sensing. So we made a box with twine about 15 feet square, and you had to stay in that box. And then people were approaching you. They were stalking in. You were blindfolded, and you had to sense exactly where they were.
Yep.
And this guy was so amazing at it. He cleared his entire side, his entire field in a matter of about 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, wait a second.
I love that one. I remember doing that at the fire stalk.
Yeah.
And me and some other guys that were a team, we just got them way out there. They couldn't even get close to us.
Yeah.
And I started teaching other people that. So the story that I had to share for the going invisible, going to gray man, actually would do that to my vehicles. So I'm in Pakistan. I'd already been in Iraq, Afghanistan, and I'm in Pakistan, kind of like next level, being invisible.
Yeah.
And we would have our armored cars worked on at a particular place, and it had been cleared and everything. We knew the owner had been cleared and everything. So we're leaving together as a group, and the guys behind me completely lost me. And we got back, and they're like, what happened to you? You went invisible. You were right in front of us, and then you went completely invisible. I'm like, I don't know. So, they weren't ready for that information, but some guys I would teach that to, and it's really, I'm invisible to those who would do me harm, but sometimes it goes to a different level. And I remember when I would come back from overseas, I would kind of forget to turn that invisibility off. And people were like, almost hitting me. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And my wife, said, she looked at me, she goes, you need to turn that invisibility thing off. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right.
That's awesome.
So you're right. You have to know when to go into those states of consciousness, that alpha brainwave state and so forth. We still have to focus out here. You and I are communicating now. We're using, beta, brainwave activity, but we're still bringing in, high levels of alpha brainwave states, talking about some of the stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. One of the things that we really focus on in the scout classes is learning to read intent. And so, we do a bunch of exercises where we have somebody sit in a chair blindfolded, and then people stalking from behind, one with bad intent and one with no intent.
Yep.
To get you trained to feel that intent. I mean, I can't prove it, but I have a lot of anecdotal evidence that says that you project energy through your eyes. and that people are able to perceive that energy. And if you are sensitive to that, you can start to really pick up on intent. I learned that from hunting, because, man, it seemed like the deer always knew I was hunting them, because I had that intent.
Right.
Once I hid that intent, I could do it really well. The Apaches had one word for hunting that meant to go out and gather or take a life, and another one for hunting animals. And what they said was, I'm going for a walk with a quiver full of arrows. Not that I'm hunting, because if I say I'm hunting, then the deer are sensitive to it. Well, humans are sensitive to that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In particular, I notice a lot of women are very sensitive to creepy guys. I mentioned that earlier.
Right.
It really creeps me out. I said, that's because he's got predatory. You're sensing a predatory activity there, a behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's
yeah. So yeah, we discovered that actually when I was doing the hand-to-hand program. We did a stalking with a blade, where we would like to take out a sentry stalking, and taking the sentry out with a blade. So we would tell the guys, okay, if you hear anything, turn around. And we have the guys creeping up on a sandy beach, so there's waves breaking, and on the sand you can't really hear anything in the sand. And if you're slow stalker, and we talk about stalking too. So guys would like turn around right before they hit, and we like, did you hear him? It's like, no, I just knew he was there. And we're like, oh, and then we finally figured out we have to change our intention.
Yeah.
We would call it empty mind.
Yeah,
you know what you're going to do, but before you go in, you have to empty your mind. You have to be just plain blank, and without fail, the guys would come in.
Oh yeah.
And then we train them. Okay, have that thought that you're going to go in, and the guy that's like you're going against, if you feel them, turn around. So way before they would get in, the guys were turning around.
Yeah, and so we do variations on that. We have one guy with no intent carrying a weapon, a knife, and the other guy with no weapon but the intent. And guess who he senses? He doesn't sense the knife; he senses the intent.
Yeah,
it's great training. It's really, really helpful to be able to.
I've trained some ninjutsu guys in these skills, and they're blown away by it. I was like, you guys don't train in this? I thought this was your guys' forte. But even some of the martial arts out there, because we discovered this on our own, and I know you guys were teaching it. We didn't have this information.
It doesn't surprise me, because essentially, if you are doing the stuff, you find the skills. I have encountered a half dozen really, really outstanding trackers that learned it completely independently from completely different sources, but came to the same conclusion. And they can track exactly the same way I can, and they didn't learn it from anybody else. They did it from just getting out and looking at tracks. And so when you start doing the stuff that you were doing, it's going to come to you. You're going to figure out some of that stuff pretty quickly.
Right. Very, very very neat to know right now during these time frames. Whether they're in a survival situation or not, pretty much everyone in the world is in a survival situation. Really, it's quite unbelievable what's going on right now.
Isn't it though? I mean, I
was Navy SEAL and CIA for 35 years, and I think this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my. I protected the United States, but we are infiltrated. Within.
It is a daily thing where. I got up this morning and talked to my buddy. I said, so what did the idiots do last night? What's the latest insanity? And there's always something good. I mean, I listen to it, and I just can't believe where we are as a nation and as a planet, especially as a nation. I mean, I think we're in so much trouble.
Oh, bad. Yeah. So that's another reason why, more people need, type of training that we can give them. So On Point Tactical, is there any other place where people can reach you?
The On Point Tactical at www.onpointtactical.com, and you can reach me at info@onpointtactical.
Okay.
And I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah, excellent.
I don't keep.
So I'll put your links in the description box. So if anybody wants to go down there and check that out. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun talking with you again, Kevin. We'll have to have you and maybe focus on some specific things in the future. So
yeah,
kind of like a nice little get to know Kevin again, and so everybody got to
walk down memory lane.
Yeah, exactly. Got to see some of the wild side stuff that that we know about and that I've learned over the years that you're definitely still sharing, and I have in my courses, you have in your courses. So highly recommend you guys, if you have not checked out On Point Tactical.
And anybody who's on my side, listen to Mike. He knows how to teach you the intuitive side of combat. I mean, it's fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
The Intuitive Warrior.
Intuition.com if you guys are on the Kevin side.
Yeah. So, the Intuitive Warrior too is a great book as a starting point. That's Mike's book, and I can't recommend it enough.
Back wall back there, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, that was I wrote that in a combat zone in Pakistan. We were like almost nightly. They were telling us they were going to come kill us, and I was like, I don't feel it, but you guys feel what you want, say what you want. Because I had a remote influencing ability by that time, so I was influencing, keeping stuff safe. So, yeah, the skills that we learn, they go to a different level. It's pretty amazing. The Tom Kyer's teacher, Chris Sayok, talked about fighting demons. So I learned how to fight demons too, just by what he was talking about. I learned from what he told us, and now I fight demons. So it's unbelievable. Yep.
Well, you're a warrior all the way.
Absolutely. And so are you, Kevin. Thank you very much for all that you do and all the teachings that you've given to me and many other people that have definitely benefited over the years, have gone very far in their careers. So thank you very much.
I'm so glad to hear that. That makes me feel better about the fact that I did this for a living and not, didn't become a Wall Street banker or something, Which
you probably could have done with your insight, definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
That would be cheating, wouldn't it?
I know, right? Well, I cheat a little bit with that now, so
yeah. Well,
you got to make ends meet, right?
Yep.
All right, Kevin.
It's so good to talk to you.